Amateur Sports TV, sitting down with Mike Zambon, the president of the Prairie Junior Hockey League out of Saskatchewan. Mike, thanks for taking the time to sit down and explain a little bit what the PJHL is. And first off, I have to ask you this question. Who is Mike Zambon, and how did you become part of the PJHL?
Well, thanks, Theo. Thanks for having me on and your interest in the Prairie Junior Hockey League. And myself, I first started with the Prairie Junior Hockey League before it was even the Prairie Junior Hockey League in 2001. At that time, it was split up into two leagues. There was the North Sask Junior Hockey League and the South Sask Junior Hockey League. And I coached a team in the North Sask League out of Saskatoon here. And I've been kind of in and out of the league for a few years. And then about 3 years ago, I became the league president.
Okay, Mike. So 2007 to present, in your duration as president, how have you seen the league move in the positive direction?
Well, I think the caliber of play has certainly increased in our league. Right now, for the last two seasons, we're looking at approximately just under 40% of our players are graduates of the Saskatchewan Midget AAA Hockey League, and many people in the country say that's the top league in the whole country. So we're getting higher skilled players, better brand of hockey, kind of leaving that Jungle Bee mentality years and decades behind by now, and just getting some good skilled players and great competitive hockey.
I've never heard it described as Jungle Bee hockey, but I'm going to have to steal that from you, Mike, because that's when you talk about back in the day, it was exactly one of those things when comparing Junior A to Junior B and even Junior C. It's you're right, it is a jungle out there, no doubt. So you said the brand of the game is getting better as well as the skill of the player. Where do you see these players moving on to for their next? I mean, are they going to U Sports? Are they looking to potentially get down into the States? Or is this a league where you're seeing players able to monitor, maintain, and have a life outside of hockey already?
Well, I think the best thing about our league is we meet the needs of several different players. We have 18-year-old players in our league who tried out at Junior A camps, and maybe we're just kind of on that bubble or the 25th, 26th guy. They still need another year of development to work on their skills, work on their conditioning, maybe work on their strength, playing against 19, 20-year-olds. And those guys can make the jump up next year. We've had players who've gone on from our league to play in the SJ, the MJ, the SI, so numerous places around the country. We also have players who have played Junior A already, but now have returned back to some of the bigger cities to go to school, to go to work, kind of moving on with their lives and in their career path. And I know if you look at our top three scorers right now, and they're all from the Saskatoon Quakers team. We have Jordan Hudson. He played Junior A and for the Yorkton Terriers. Noah Bankowski is our second leading scorer. Noah has played a couple of years in Junior A, 1 year for Notre Dame, and last year for the Kindersley Clippers. And then we have Dodge Long, who Dodge was with the OCN Blizzard last year. So some of these guys are just coming back, and they're focusing more on school and trades and work and preparing for the real world out there.
So you mentioned Hudson, you mentioned Long, you've got Cole Young, you've got Noah Bankowski. The top four scorers actually in the league right now are all of the Quakers program, which is pretty formidable. And you have to say, I mean, a lot of these players, where is, most of the players from Saskatchewan? Are we finding players in northern Manitoba? Where are we drawing these players from?
The majority of the players are from Saskatchewan. The only time we'll get guys from out of province, or if they're coming here to go to the University of Saskatchewan or maybe the University of Regina, they move into the city from out of province. There are a couple of our smaller teams, like in Carrot River. They'll get some players from Manitoba. They'll get some players who were kind of the late cuts from some of those teams up in the SJ teams up in the north, and they might want to stay near. So they'll move to the small community of Carrot River and billet there and practice almost every day and work on those skills to get better.
I have to say, for a Junior B program, in a province, the amount of teams that are involved in both divisions, my count, it looks like there's 12 teams. Is that correct?
We have 12 teams. We have 7 teams in our North Division, 5 teams in the South, 3 teams ranked based out of Saskatoon here. Not only based out of the same city, but based out of the same arena.
Oh, wow.
Their rink is the same rink, so they share that rink. And even in Regina, we have the 2 teams in Regina, 1 team just outside of Regina, in Pilot Butte. So yeah, we're able to have 12 teams that are competitive and are very stable, and it's great for those communities to have those teams in them.
No doubt. I mean, Junior B hockey is still very strong in a lot of the provinces here in the West. Can you comment on the fact that you've got... Now, let me ask you this question, sorry, before I get to that. Is there a catchment scenario when it comes to the Junior B program? Is there geography lines set up for each team, or is it a free-for-all, basically trying to field the best team, the best quality product per team?
Yep, teams are allowed to recruit whoever they want. We don't have a draft. We don't have a list system. They can go out and try and recruit the best team possible.
Okay, so if we look at the standings, you've got the North and the South. You've got the Quakers and the Capitals, basically almost identical records. The Quakers have 1 point less. Are these the 2 favorite teams going into your own playoffs coming up here?
Those are the 2 strongest teams right now, and they have been kind of for the last few years. The Extreme Hockey Regina Capitals are the 3-time league champs, and prior to their 3 championships, the Quakers had won 3 in a row. So they're kind of the 2 teams that have carried the torch for our league over the last few years. But there are some teams nipping at their heels, and I think it's going to be an exciting playoff time.
So how many does everybody make the playoffs? Is there a seeding system that goes on?
So what happens in the North Division, playoffs will start in about a week or so. We'll have the first 2 teams, the Quakers and the Chiefs, will get a bye. The 3rd place team will play the 6th place team, and the 4th and the 5th will play. Now those will be best of 3 series, and then after those are done, they'll reseed with the lowest seed then taking on the Quakers. Down south, it's a little different. We'll only go with the 4 teams making the playoffs down south. So the Regina Capitals will start off against the Assiniboia Southern Rebels, and Fort Knox will play the Storm, and those will be best of 7 series. Okay,
now in terms of the makeup of each team, is there obviously a set number per roster, AP players, import players, and I'm sure most of those rosters have already been set because we're nearing playoff time.
Yeah, the rosters have been set. So we have the regular January 10th cut down day, and then you're down to your 23 cards. If you have any open cards, your last time to sign a player is February 10th. So those rosters are set. In our league, we go with, you can only have a maximum of 2 21-year-olds and a maximum of 9 20-year-olds. Okay, so
it allows for the younger player to still come up through the ranks with the older players, and it's also a good thing because you can't have a team completely stacked with an entire team that's aging out.
It does give us that balance over all the age groups, and yeah, so we don't have one team who's fully stacked with 20-year-olds playing against another team that just has 17, 18s.
Okay, so you mentioned the Capitals have been the 3-time champ for the last 3 years, correct? And the Quakers were the 3-time champion previous to that.
Yes, that's right.
Do you see, does Delisle or Fort Knox have a chance to kind of, sneak in there and take one away from these 2 teams?
I think there's a big possibility. If you look at the teams in the North, Delisle won the division last year and then was upset by the Quakers in the playoffs. You look at the Saskatoon Royals; they have some great goaltending. Their goalie was named the All-Star goalie in the North. The Wesleys have a well-rounded team. Even Carrot River, they're gonna finish 5th in the division, and going into Carrot River is a tough place to play, and they play very well there. They have a young team. They only have 2 21-year-olds, and they don't have any 20-year-olds. So they've got some useful energy, that's for sure. And the Prince Albert Titans, even sitting in 6th place in that division, have really improved over the last year. So that's going to be a tough division. If we look down south, Fort Knox has been playing well all year. They're kind of just right behind the Capitals. The Storm, the Storm added some players at the deadline. They had one player in particular, Taylor Schmidt, who was playing for the Weyburn Red Wings. He was our league MVP last year, so now he's returned to the Storm, which really is good news for them. And they also got a goaltender by the name of Cole Johnson, who was playing in Portage in the MJ. So they're looking strong for the playoffs as well. And then you have the Southern Rebels there in 4th place, and that's a team where it's very difficult to win in that rink as well. So it's going to be an exciting playoff time, and who knows, we may see some upsets.
That's some great news. I mean, you like to see some turnover a little bit. Looking at the All-Stars, like you mentioned, it's basically the first line of the Saskatoon Quakers that were all All-Stars outside of their goaltender. Are they that strong of a team this year?
Those players are very good players. They're exceptional players in our league, and the voting is done by the league coaches, and it was almost overwhelming how they wanted to honor those players and recognize those guys as being top players in our league.
We wouldn't do much of this Junior B hockey program without the coaching and the volunteers, especially the referees. And this is something I'd like to bring up because you have a selection of awards here for not only the Coach of the Year, but also referee, linesmen, builders, and a Volunteer of the Year award. Was that something that was decided as a board to make sure that this recognition was being done by the Prairie Junior Hockey League?
Well, our league is part of the developmental model for Saskatchewan Hockey Association. So as much as we want our players to develop, we also want our officials to develop. You'll see officials that are doing our league to try and get better, to try and move up into the SJ and even into the Western Hockey League. So we wanted to make sure and honor those guys and girls who were voted as being top in our league on the official side as well.
Excellent. Now Bill Johnston I can pronounce well. Bob Dybvig, is that correct?
Bob Dybvig.
Bob Dybvig. How are those two gentlemen involved with Junior B hockey, and why are their divisions named after them?
Bill Johnson was the founding member of the South Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So before we even became the Prairie Junior Hockey League, he was the one who was operating and running the league down south. And so kind of the same thing up north. Bob Dybvig was the president of the North Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for many years, and he was also the president when the Prairie Junior Hockey League started. So we wanted to honor both gentlemen by naming a division after them. We are still lucky enough to have Bob Dybvig stay on our executive. He is a current vice president in our league, so he provides some wealth of knowledge and experience for me as I'm kind of the newbie in my 3-year term here.
It's good to have fresh blood, but also the arms to kind of lean on, if you will, knowing that you're going in the right direction, correct?
For sure, 100%.
Now, after the President's Cup, we have to look into the Keystone Cup. Do teams, obviously the President's Cup is a big deal for these teams because it's the provincial championship. How much weight or how exciting is it knowing that your hockey season isn't over yet, winning the President's Cup, and you still have one more championship to go after?
Well, that was one of the things we heard from the players and the coaches. The last Keystone Cup we participated in was the 16-17 one. And then at that time, BC pulled out, Alberta pulled out, and then we were left with a decision. And the board of directors decided, you know what, we'll just pull out as well. We're not sure what this is going to look like. It's not a sanctioned championship by the Western branches anymore because these provinces had pulled out. So we're just going to step back a little bit too and see what happens. during the summer and the beginning of the season, there was lots of talk about we needed something else. We wanted something more. The players wanted something more. They just didn't want to be done after our league championship. They wanted to go on, and they wanted to play some other teams from different provinces. And we started in discussions with the team in Thunder Bay, the Fighting Walleye there. Brought it back to our board of directors, and our board voted for us to participate again this year. So the teams are excited about it, the players are excited about it. There's been lots of talk going around, especially this time of year as we're gearing up for the playoffs, that we're shooting for that Keystone Cup again.
Awesome. So we're back in it. That happens at the end of April. That should give enough time for the champions to not only rest up but become healthy again, because we know that this playoff run always is taxing on the body. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. The games, the travel, and then we have players who are balancing their school studies, their work schedule, all while doing this through the playoffs. And even going to the Keystone Cup, some of our U of S student athletes got their final exam schedules just a couple days ago, and they're going to have to do some planning to see if they can write a final earlier or do some cramming or some cooperation with the professors to try and get all those things done too, just so they can enjoy the experience of playing for a championship.
Absolutely. No, Mike Zambon joining me from Prairie Junior Hockey League. Mike, where are you centered? Are you in Regina or Saskatoon?
I'm based out of Saskatoon.
Okay, so are you a Quakers fan? Are you allowed to say anything like that, or we keep that status quo and you're cheering for everybody?
I am a league fan. 1/12 of them each year for every team.
There you go. Well, that was the political answer, correct, Mike?
That is correct.
Right on. So I want to thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Obviously, your Twitter handle is PJHL, is that right?
At PJHL Official.
Yep. And then the Facebook, you can check
Twitter.
Prairie Junior Hockey League, all one word, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, so if you want to check out more of this playoff action, potentially who's going to be rolling into the President's Cup and then later on into the Keystone, you guys are very well updated. The strength of your league, Mike, I have to say, is the one thing that overexceeds everything. The teams, the amount of games you play, and also just the fact that you're promoting that student athlete and making sure that all facets of life are being handled properly, including hockey and lifestyle, is truly important to these young men. So congratulations on that. Is there anything else you'd like to finish up with before I say goodbye?
Yeah, no, just appreciate your covering of Junior B hockey, Theo, and please feel free to contact us at any time.
We'd love to do so again, Mike, later on. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been a discussion with Mike Zambon, the president of the Prairie Junior Hockey League. Do check them out on their social media pages. Thank you very much for joining me.
You bet, Theo. Thank you.